Alright guys, so let's discuss this question that you can see on the screen. That is a question that relates to punctuation, the topic of punctuation and fanboys as well. And this is for SAT or ACT students, right? Now, how are we going to do about that? So I'm going to go in detail because, a lot of my students, they still, they get confused when they come across with this kind of question. It's quite, confusing, daunting. Um, the sentence is big. So now we're gonna kind of like analyze in detail. Okay. So first of all, the question: material scientist Mary Agathi Sharpagan or Sharpan or whatever, and her colleagues, okay, believed they could improve on the multi-component alloy. So alloy, it's the a mixture of metals. You create another kind of substance by mixing two, three metals. That's gonna called alloy. Okay, so three metals, yeah, multi-component alloy made of three metals, and they're in equal proportions. Mixture of nickel, Ni, and then cobalt and chromium, Cr, by replacing chromium with ruthenium or whatever. And then we got the gap. The alloy that resulted in NiCoRu turned out to be an unsuitable replacement for NiCoCr. Okay, so we got here the equal proportions. That means like 33.33% each metal. So by replacing chromium, so this is chromium, this part. I mean, understanding the question is also important, guys. Yeah, and if you understand it, it is easier to solve it. So Cr, they're replacing it by another metal called ruthenium. Okay, the alloy that resulted now, instead of NCO, instead of this NiCoCr, that becoming NiCoRu, right? Because simply they are replacing this metal by this metal. Okay, the alloy that resulted turned out to be an unsuitable replacement for NiCoCr. Right, now which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of standard English? So that's like grammar or punctuation here. So what we're going to do is we got the choice here. I'm going to create the scenario for each choice by filling in the gap with each choice A, B, C, D, because when I do that, it will be, I think, clearer to understand. But obviously, you're not gonna do this in the exam, guys. Yeah, but I'm just doing it here to make it easier to understand, right? So let's do that. So I'm just gonna create 4 copies of this part of the question. Okay, now we created 4 copies, and then I'm gonna give a name. For example, the first one is A choice. All right, A, and this one is B. Okay, so this is B choice, and this one is going to be C. All right, C choice, and then now we got here D. Okay, so now we got here 4 copies A, B, C, D, and now we're going to replace this gap, these gaps. We got 4 gaps, right? We got 4 gaps, and we're going to replace that with the choices, with the right choices. All right, so let's do that. So for A, I'm going to get A, copy and paste. So we're going to put it here. Okay, so this is the first one is done, and then for B choice, we're going to copy B choice answer. Right, now we're going to highlight it. Okay, now this is also done, and now we're going to go to C. All right, copy and paste. We're going to highlight it again here. Okay, now we got the last one. That's it. Now we've got here 4 scenarios set up, and then I put this answers here. Now we will start discussing. So we have to eliminate the wrong answers, right? So I'm going to start with A, and then see if it makes sense or not to keep it. To be able to find the right answer for these kind of questions, we should understand the structure of the sentence. Or in other words, we should understand dependent clause, independent clause, and phrase. So if we can understand these three things, yeah, if we can differentiate phrase, dependent clause, and independent clause, and also that means we should be able to find the subject and verbs very clearly. So if we have got this knowledge, then we should be all right. Right. Materials scientist Maria Agathe Sharpen. Okay. So this is the and her colleagues and her colleagues. This part is subject, we say. Believe it is verb. And this Maria Agathe Sharpan, or whatever the name is, and her colleagues, this is subject. And then we got here verb, guys. Believed something. Believed something. So believed that, I mean, that is hidden here. Believed that, okay, so this one, that they could improve on the multi-component alloy NiCOCr. Okay, so this blue highlighted area, we call this noun clause, guys. I'm going to make video about noun clauses as well. You can watch it. But if you understand the noun clause, that's good. So this is noun clause, which means this is dependent. This is dependent clause. Dependent clause. We've got three types. One of them is noun clause. We've got adjective clause, noun clause, and adverb clauses. Now the first part, let's make it like pink color. And her colleagues believed. This is independent clause. This is independent clause. Pink color is independent clause. So they believed something. And instead of something, I'm using clause. So something here, object. Object is a noun. And so instead of noun, I'm using clause. That means that's going to be noun clause. So noun clause is dependent. Why dependent? Because it cannot stand alone. All right. So they believed that they could improve on the multi-component alloy NiCOCr. And then now we got here, extra information is coming. So I'm kind of like dismantling the sentence into chunks, into separate pieces, right? So an equal proportions mixture of nickel, Ni, cobalt, and chromium. Why? This is extra information because two commas here, right? We got comma here and we got comma here. That this is extra information, guys. Extra information for this noun, NiCOCr. They're explaining. And what is this? This is an equal proportions mixture of nickel, cobalt, and chromium. Now, so they could improve on multi-component alloy NiCOCr. How? By replacing chromium with ruthenium. By replacing. So this is by replacing. This is we call it prepositional phrase. By replacing. Yeah? By replacing is a prepositional phrase. So let's make this a different color as well. By replacing chromium with ruthenium, and then obviously this is ruthenium. They're giving extra information like cobalt, Co, nickel, Ni, so ruthenium. All right, by replacing chromium with ruthenium. Now here we got problem starts, right? Why? Because as I said here, we got independent clause here. This is independent. This in a pink area or pink highlighted area. This is independent clause. And then now we got the alloy that resulted. This is another clause that resulted. This is a relative clause. So relative clause, I'm going to highlight with, okay, that resulted this. The alloy, it's a mixture of, metals. That means alloy. The alloy that resulted, so maybe we can do it another color actually. I'm just trying to show you how many pieces, separate pieces in this sentence, right? The alloy that resulted, and extra information, which is NICORU, turned out to be an unsuitable replacement for NICOCR. So because I made independent clause pink color, I'm going to make another pink color to show you that this is also independent clause. I mean, the alloy turned out to be an unsuitable replacement for NICOCR. So now one information I should give to you now here. Independent clause, obviously you should know that. Independent clauses, we cannot connect them to independent clause without any punctuational marks or without any conjunctions. So that is considered is wrong. And then the name of this mistake is, we call it what? We call it run-on mistake. Independent clauses, we cannot connect them without anything. Or even if you connect two independent clauses with comma, it doesn't matter whatever you have. You can have dependent clause or phrases in between, no problem. It doesn't matter. But as long as you connect them with comma or without any punctuational mark, then that is still considered as wrong. And the name of this mistake is run on, guys. Run on mistake, right? Run on mistake. And what is the right way of connecting two independent clauses? Obviously, you should know that this is fanboys. Fanboys is coordinating conjunctions. That's the acronym for coordinating conjunctions. F stands for A stands for and, N stands for nor, B stands for but, O stands for or, Y stands for yet, and S stands for so. Right? So we can use fanboys to connect them here to independent clauses. Right? So that is the information that we should know. Now, if you look at here, we can only see commas. We can only see commas. So I know that between these two pink clauses, we got stuff in between, but if you look at them, they are either dependent clauses or phrases or like extra informations. So they are not really important for us. We can just remove it. I mean, if we can remove that, let's, for example, they could improve on this is noun clause, which is dependent clause, so I don't need that. An equal portions of mixture, that's extra information. I can remove it because it doesn't make too much job here for the sake of understanding this question, right? And then by replacing how, this is also by replacing prepositional phrase. Now look at that, guys. So I mean that resulted, this is in the relative clause, which is dependent clause. So we can just all remove it. Now if you look here, we got like two independent clauses. We are connecting them with comma. I removed the commas, obviously, but we don't have other conjunctions. We don't have fanboys here. So that's why we can't accept that. We cannot accept this at all because we cannot connect two independent clauses, right? Two independent clauses without any punctuational mark or with a comma. It's no good. So we're going to put them back, all right? And we can't accept this choice as a correct answer. So this is out of our question, right? So now B, it will be the same explanations. And then now we're putting here are, you, and but. So B is actually not bad. I mean, it's very close to the right answer, but it's got problem. I mean, but is a fanboys. But is a fanboys. As I said here, we got independent clauses here. Look, materials scientist Maria Agathe Chapin and her colleagues believed something. They believed something like that they can improve, and then they got extra informations, and they can improve this substance or the alloy. How? By replacing chromium with ruthenium. But the alloy turned out to be an unsuitable replacement for NICOCR. So what is happening here is we are connecting two independent clause with fanboys, one of the fanboys, right? Yeah, which is but, right? Which is good, but we got a little bit issue here. And what is that issue? Okay, so the rule was, if you remember, independent clause, and if I'm going to put here but, right? And then I've got another independent clause. Then I must have comma before. They call it Oxford comma, the rule. The name of the rule is Oxford comma. So that is missing. That is the only problem that we can't accept that. Okay, but is good, but the comma is missing. So no, this is not good enough for us. Right? So we're not going to accept this choice. And if you look at C choice, that's also not very good because, as I said here, we got independent clause, right? Independent clause. Then the alloy turned out to be unsuitable replacement. And then, as you can see here, there's a connection with comma. So, as I explained earlier, we cannot connect two independent clauses with comma, guys, right? So this is not good. So because of that, we cannot accept C either. Right, what we got left? We got D. And then if you look D here, it's perfect. Why? Because we got fanboys and we got comma. We got comma. So that means we got like independent clause, comma, but independent clause. Okay. So between them, obviously, we got stuff here. You know, we got like here dependent clauses, extra informations like they could, for example, let's make color blue color, independent clauses, right? Sorry, dependent clauses, I mean. They believed something. They believed they could improve on multi-component alloy, this one. And what is NiCOCr? So extra information is coming here. It's an equal proportions mixture of nickel, cobalt, and chromium. Okay. And then how can they improve? How can they improve? I mean, look, extra informations, they confuse us. So like if I'm going to remove them, it will be easier to understand the meaning of the sentence, I believe. Look at that. I'm just going to remove that. Now, if I remove it, look, I think it will be easier for you to understand. And obviously when I remove extra information, I have to remove the commas as well. Now they could improve on the multi-component alloy NiCOCr by replacing, you see, by replacing, this is by is a preposition, replacing chromium. This is prepositional phrase. Ru is included here. So they could improve on the multi-component alloy NiCOCr by replacing. How they can improve it? By replacing chromium with ruthenium, and which is Ru. Now, comma, but the alloy, so when they replaced that, they got the new alloy, right? The result. The alloy that resulted, which became NiCO Ru, right? Or maybe we should make a different color. Right, NiCO Ru. As you got it, before it was what? It was NiCOCr. But after they change chromium with ruthenium, chromium with ruthenium, now it became new alloy. So that resulted alloy turned out to be what? Turned out to be unsuitable replacement for NiCOCr. That means like NiCOCr was different, was better. Okay, so focus is here. Now we got like two independent clauses and we're connecting with fanboy and there's a comma here. Everything is perfect. That makes us to select D choice as the right answer, guys. Okay, so we're going to stop here. If you got any comments, if still something is not clear, write on comments and I'll try to explain more. In the next video, I'm going to explain how to dismantle or how to break the sentence into small pieces, right? What is phrase? What is dependent clause? What is extra information? What is independent clause? Because it is utterly important to understand these structures, guys, for ACT and SAT students. If you don't understand dependent clause, independent clause, phrase, extra information, and then subject and verb, then you have to work on it. Otherwise, you will not be able to get all the English questions right. Okay, so well, thanks for your time. If you've understood, if you have learned something, that makes me happy. And you got any questions, just leave it on comments, and we will go from there. All right, so have a good day and take care. See you in the next videos. Bye bye.